Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Spyder Garage. Welcome to this. For those that aren't familiar, this is our IMSA-inspired Decon Monza tribute car that is a 77 Monza body swapped onto a 92 Corvette chassis. And right now, in this episode, I'm trying to figure out how to make hood hinges because there's no framework that exists for the stock Monza hood, nor will the stock Monza hood hinges actually work. So I'm going to make some NASCAR style hinges that are external that go on top, I think. I'm going to play around with that and try to figure that out in this episode and get those welded in so I can actually open this thing up. And then I've got a little bit of trimming to do as well because you know, fiberglass, it's perfect every time, right? So you guys get to follow my adventures or misadventures, as it were, as I try to figure this thing out. And by the way, I forgot to mention it. If you're not caught up on the progress of this, we've been working on this for the last year. Up here, I'll put a link to the playlist that will get you all caught up. All right, here's my thought process on this. Starting first on the car here, I've got this substructure that's welded firmly to the car itself. So that's my anchor, but I need more metal to anchor the hood itself. So I can put some sort of another short little 1x block here. I'll have to trim some of this fiberglass back so I can weld this to that to kind of stack it up right on top of it. If I do that, that gives me room to weld a piece of metal like that that'll have a hole in it. This will be the fixed hinge point on the car, and then to have a similar hinge on the hood. By the way, this sits exactly at the height that it needs to. So I think I might cut this in half, and I'll explain it here in a second. The reason I was thinking about cutting it in half is because I don't have anything to weld to the car that structurally would hold it. So if I cut this in half and welded that half onto the car itself, that gives me an anchor here that matches the anchor over there. Put the two together back to back. They sit flat on top of each other at the right level, and that gives me enough room to anchor another tab onto here as well. I don't know, that's just my initial thoughts. All right, change of plans. Nathaniel and I discussed it, and he had a better idea. I don't really need to cut this in half and use each half between the hood and the car itself. Once I cut this fiberglass away right here, if I just weld this directly to that metal structure right there, that's plenty strong if I put a bead down on either side of it, because it's not really holding a ton of weight anyway. So no brace necessary there. Now, that does change when I get over here. I will take this, shorten it, cut it in half, put a little half block right there, if you will, and I got a notch just a little bit out of the corner here because this thing fills the gap between the hood and the fender. This is going to have to take up space in that little area right there, right up against it. But anyway, shorten this, cut it in half, give me something to weld against, because welding that thin little line right there is not going to hold, so I need to give it a flat surface that's a little stronger. And that is why I like asking Nathaniel's opinion, because he has newer, better ideas for things that I don't think of.
Yep.
And oh, by the way, Nathaniel is standing next to our new transmission for the car. You guys have not seen this yet. Hopefully.
It's good.
Yeah, if it works out, we're about to find out.
You can see this thing was in a fire so bad that it melted the plate.
Yep. Melted all the bushings and the governor and the sensor.
Yeah. Theoretically, all the stuff inside is metal, so it should be fine, even if it got hot.
Right.
Drain the fluid and see what it looks like.
Exactly. So what are we looking at, by the way? We haven't even told them.
It's a ZF6 6-speed. Came out of Corvettes of this era. So
yep.
They're a little weird, but they should work pretty well. It'll actually bolt up exactly how we want it to.
Yeah. You see these bolts right here on both sides? That'll bolt right up to our C-beam in the Corvette here. This came supposedly out of a 91 Corvette, and this is a 92. So that allows us to just bolt the back end of it right up without having to fabricate anything. And then, obviously, the bell housing for this won't work with an LS, but I'll show you what our answer is for that. What you're looking at right there is the original bell housing for the LT1, clutch and flywheel, pressure plate. But QuickTime makes a scatter shield that bolts up to the ZF and to an LS. So this is an adapter as well as a nice thick scatter shield. There's the clutch and flywheel. Drove 3 hours to get that, or a couple hours to get the transmission in one location. Drove the opposite direction, about 3.5 hours to find this for a killer deal. So instead of our little AR5 out of a weak little AR5 at that, out of a Chevy Colorado, that we found out was going to cost us just as much to adapt that to an LS as this entire setup did. Yeah. Why wouldn't you have a 6-speed instead of a cheap little AR5? So that's what we did. Well, it's day 2 of this video here, and really didn't get a whole lot done yesterday. After looking at that transmission, it just kind of sent us down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out if we could salvage it, and if we could salvage it, what it would take to get it back up to 100%. And I really don't know yet, to be honest. We've got a couple different options. I think the one thing that I have learned from the Corvette forums and people in the know is that internally it's probably okay, but externally it's going to cost us a small fortune to get it back up to par. So, okay, you go to a parts store to get them, right? Nope. Not with a ZF6. ZF6s are very unique, and parts are no longer made for them, and they're expensive. So anyway, we've got options, but we haven't decided what we're going to do yet, so we're just going to leave that one where it is for now and get busy on some other stuff. Yesterday, Nathaniel was working on this piece here and was concerned that our metal brake wasn't big enough. I found a friend that has one large enough. We're going to head over there pretty soon to do that and bend that thing 4 foot across to cover up the gas tank there. And I'm going to get back on this hood. Successful trip. Got it bent.
Yeah.
We'll see how she fits. Very nice, dude.
Yeah, trim it a bit more, but yeah.
Well, so I got my pieces cut from my little wooden piece of Luan here. They're not perfect, but they're good enough. 2 for here, 2 for the other side. This will slide down here like this. There's a metal bar down there underneath that I can tack that to. That leaves me just enough sticking up that I just happen to have a couple little button head bolts here. I'll drill a hole big enough to get that button head right there. That's a good pivot point, I think. And then I don't know how deep this one needs to go. I'll obviously cut the length of that. I just made them all a little long for now. And I think that'll work. But I am going to have to trim the hood just a little bit because it's not going to fit. And I kind of knew that, but I didn't want to cut the hood yet until I had the actual pieces of metal and I knew where everything's going to go. So I think that's next. And then I'll measure how deep it needs to go. Later. Yeah, just up against the side there's fine. Okay, I think we're finally ready. Oh wow. Having to move out around all your stanchions makes it a little more difficult to get it off. All right, let me explain to you my crazy hair, our method of madness here. What am I? I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, we're gonna put the hood back on now, and we're gonna weld those tabs on here. Don't want to be welding next to the fiberglass. Plus, that gives us better access anyway without the fender in the way. So I think that's what we're gonna do now.
Can't really get to it otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, by the way, now that we have access to it, I don't think we had time to even show you in the last episode, Sean made us a super cool substructure here, but he made it in such a way that it's super convenient because without the fender bolted on, this side comes out. There's it's a cut right there, and there's a sleeve that goes through, so we can slide this out to get it out of the way. And then we can't remove the radiator and the shroud, not very easily anyway, with this in the way. So guess what? That's removable too. So that comes out, that comes out, that comes out.
Yeah.
Sean's a pretty smart guy, isn't he?
It's like Lego.
Yeah. All right, anyway, had to show you that. Let's get that hood back on. Oh no, you scratched the tape. So now, I know where the back of the hood is. I need to flap wheel this real quick so I can tack it on there.
You want to tack it to the frame right here?
I'm going to do both. What I'm going to do is vice grip these together, tack the outer one to the frame.
You want to put a bolt through?
Yeah, I'm going to put a bolt through.
Okay.
And then, of course, I'm going to flap wheel the side of the top and the side of the hood here real quick just to be able to give me a tacking point so these things are exactly together. And then I can take the hood off and finish weld it and finish weld down here as well.
Okay.
Well, not finish weld, we'll test it first. But you know what I mean?
Right.
I do have to make that box for the backside too.
Right.
Give it something more to weld to. So yeah, we get the flap wheel. All right, off camera, I've got these little spacers right here from 1x box tubing. And these are gonna go underneath there just to give me a little more to weld to for that tab. So there's this, oh, I'll never see that again. There's the side of that thing. It's just not going to be enough. So now I got a little bit of that to help me out. Okay, the idea behind this is that little piece I just cut. It's going to go on the back of the hood here and just give me something to brace that corner a little better and a better surface to weld this tab onto. All right, ready to weld on?
No, that's perfect.
Okay, you can get to both sides.
Yeah. Is that what you want?
Yeah, that's right where I want it. All right, here's a closer look at our little braces here. I can weld those tabs to on either side right here. That should work out a little better. I'm gonna flip this over. Well, I guess I don't really have to. I need to flap wheel the underside of this just a little bit, just to give me a surface to tack to from the top side, because that's the only way I can get to it when it's sitting level and the holes are lined up on the car. You'll see when I get it up there. All right, the reason the hood wouldn't go up was I forgot to shave down this tab right here. Nathaniel even warned me about that before I started this whole thing, and for some reason, I'm getting tired and I forgot. So I'm gonna cut that tab down to the same level as our little brace right there, and hope that when I lift it up, that even the little brace I welded on there doesn't bend down and interfere somehow. Okay, went ahead and got the hinges hooked up. Here we go. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yes. Simple little hinge setup. Just like NASCAR. It's essentially the same way they do it. All right. I'm going to call that success. All right, on that note, I'm going to call it a night and call this episode done. Those of you that build cars out there know why it takes so long to get a car done. Whoops, bumped into the welder. Because if this was a car that you would just simply bolt together because it was already made that way, the 2 months we got left would be just plenty of time. But when I have to spend a day and a half just fabbing up hinges for a hood, now you understand why it takes so long to get cars like this done. So I'm going to call that a victory. On to the next item, and I don't even know what that's going to be yet. But as you can tell, there's any number of things to do. So I'll figure that out. In the meantime, thanks for watching, guys. We always appreciate you. Take care.